This is it. This is the month where I make a run at it. I am going to try to make $30,000 in 1 month trading by tripling my trading size. Once you can consistently make money with a smaller amount, all you need to do to make more money is increase your size. So that's what I'm gonna do this month. I'm gonna show you every trade I take, walk you through every part of the process, good or bad. Keep you updated on any changes I make and how adjusting to the new size increase affects me and my trading.
Order filled.
And then I'm just gonna have my target somewhere up here at the open. Yeah, at this point it doesn't look great just because the ES is just kind of continuing lower. I think if the ES was gonna bounce, it would have done it right here. Now risk reward wise, I think it's still just, you know, it was a decent looking trade, 50-50 kind of thing. And I think the 50-50 would have been a great, you know, risk reward, but knocked out. Looks like it's just gonna continue lower. So I lost over $5,000 this week. I've never lost that much money in trading before in 1 week. It's because I made a lot of dumb mistakes. I just sized up and I've realized when you size up, the money is a lot more intense. And so you're way more likely to revert back to some dumb mistakes you made. On Monday, I got in way too early. I didn't wait for a really good spike and flush lower, kind of a final fake out that I really find way more high probability. And I, instead had some FOMO, thought, oh, what if I jump in right here and or I don't jump in here and I wait for a better setup and I miss out on a trade. And now I'm thinking, well, if I miss out on the trade, that's $3 or $4 or $5,000. That's a big key I need to not do. The second one is betting against really strong momentum. As a reversal trader, I'm always betting counter trend in a way, but I always try and make sure that the trend is clearly over and has high chance to be done and looking to reverse. But I've noticed over time is that when there's a really strong momentum move, that it doesn't reverse right away. A lot of the time it takes time for that momentum to work itself out. And so I know in those spots that it's better to just not take a trade there and know that it's less likely and less probable. And instead I jumped in and took the trade. The third one was betting against the big picture trend. Because it looks like it has momentum potential. Of course it could not, but the risk of waiting too long, it just goes without me. What is the trend over the past couple days, past couple weeks? And I took a trade in gold. It had a nice move up into a resistance level, but I thought going into that day that the major trend was to the upside. And so it was more likely that once it hits that resistance level, it's just gonna maybe slow down for a minute, but it's gonna continue higher. And I tunnel visioned, looked at, the micro trend and thought, well, it looks like, it's giving me some micro patterns and signals that it could reverse. It started to reverse, but really did a fake out to the downside and then shot higher again because that big picture trend came back into play once it had a pullback. And so those are 3 big lessons I need to use going into this week. I'm gonna make a piece of paper on my desk so I can tangibly focus on the key major mistakes I think I commonly make now, especially when the size is bigger. And so hopefully I can avoid those dumb mistakes and make some money going into this next week. But I like the potential to go lower
Order
here.
filled.
I'm just gonna enter in and then I can explain it in a second more. So big picture, the market is bullish. And so it's had this massive move up, but it's also hitting this trend line. And I kind of need to see how it reacts to this previous high. Part of me feels like I'm going against my rules a little bit of really strong uptrend. Just trying to look at this to see if I want to move my stop down. I don't think yet. I think I want to move my stop down if it starts to punch down to here. Just because of my lack of confidence in the trade, my upsetness with myself or frustration of myself of kind of, I don't know, feeling like I broke my rules a little. Okay, well, small loss on that. Okay, so after breaking my rules for a couple days, I have written down on a sheet kind of what directions I think and trades I want for each market. I'm gonna get long. I'm a little nervous. ES is hitting highs, but I'm gonna get long here. Big picture is aligned. There is a nice bottoming pattern with a flush here. Downtrend into this area isn't crazy.
Order filled.
Initial target will definitely be the open, and we'll just kind of see how things get going here. Really gross. I'm gonna go long on this. The idea that it's basically faked lower, and it's gonna continue and break this and continue higher with the trend, and this is just a pullback. And instead of looking for a reversal here.
Order filled.
I'm gonna move my target up a bit more because I don't want to get knocked out on a spike. With just the idea that this market is very volatile. It has the potential.
Order filled.
Big picture on a 5-minute, I think it looks really good potential wise. But I'm also nervous that it's just doing a little retracement here. 50% of this move and then failing. I'm just gonna move to a 5-minute for now because it's just choppy, and I mean, it's either gonna knock me out or it doesn't, right? Yeah, I'm trying to, in some spots, since the market's been so trendy, is looking for some of these reversals to fail, where it has a strong uptrend, it hits a level, does a pullback, and starts to make some nice price action to go higher to continue that uptrend. This one, I don't know, I think I force this one a little bit. I think in better spots, the better signal is when it hits this level and starts to chop a little bit, versus this was chopping too long, and so it might just go into a chop fest. Pretty gross. So I'm down over 11K in the last 2 weeks, and I've never been down that much money before, and it feels emotional, and I feel like a failure, and I've kind of lost confidence in my ability to execute my trading strategy. It's not the strategy that's losing me money, it's the fact that every day I'm going in focusing on the money and not focusing on the process and not focusing on being patient of when to take a trade that aligns up with my strategy versus there's a potential trade here and jumping in on it, and I'm not getting in when I need to be, right? And so I'm trading very emotionally and all over the place. And so what I'm trying to do now is recenter myself, because the market is always going to be there, and I don't need to take trades every day to be successful, especially at the size now. That's what has really kind of made me go a little crazy, I think, is that the size is so big now that I can take one trade and make 5K from it, or if I size up a little, it could be like 10K, and that's kind of mind-blowing. And so dealing with that has made me need to realize I need to focus on the process and go into every day not caring about if I take a trade that day and if I make money or not. The focus needs to be on a good successful trading day needs to be if I go in and take a trade that is based on my strategy, not if I go in and make money or lose money. And so that's what I want to do going into this next week. And going into the next couple weeks, I don't want to frame it as, even for this video, oh, it's a success if I can dig myself out of this hole. That could take longer. Doesn't depending on what happens with my trading and the market, right? And so I want a win needs to be if I go in and take trades that I want and take trades that I like versus jumping in on trades and making money. Because that's, again, going to keep me in that emotional driven state of FOMOing, of being nervous, being scared, and tunnel visioning, and just continuing to lose money. With that being said, hopefully the comeback starts now and I can focus up this week and just take a couple of trades when they come along and focus on being patient, because that's what's going to make me money in the long run. Okay, let's get this train rolling. It is a fresh week. I am going into this week with the idea of I'm trying to just execute my strategy how I see fit and be super patient. A win is, getting my trade and strategy when it shows up versus trying to take trades and make money in the market. The ES and the NASDAQ are not aligned, which doesn't look good for trading, either of them. Usually I like to have them kind of be move in the same direction because it's more likely that they do something. Took a quick break, but ES is just choppy. NASDAQ had a little spike at the open, but it's still just choppy. I'm just gonna call it a day. Totally happy with that. No need to push it when there's really nothing going on. It's made a nice higher low off of this area I've looked for. It's a double bottom, head and shoulders, off of this previous high here. Nice bounce there, and then a bounce here. So that's pretty dang good structure. The only thing is I feel like my intuition is kind of saying that this is, it's already had 2 big moves for the day.
Order filled.
And I'm just nervous about this gold trade just because it is a little later than I normally take a trade, and it feels like could just be getting choppy. But also I'm just nervous because I'm scared about the outcome. What if it loses here? But again, the reasons to get in were solid, and that's what I want to be focusing on, right? It's not about the trade outcome, it's about the process of executing when it follows your strategy and pushing through that nervousness and emotion. That could be a break of this trend. Now, I need to see a couple candlesticks and see what it does. But I think at this point, I'll move my stop loss up to here at least. I would really be kind of upset to get out here. Getting out here still, I was happy with how I traded. I think I stayed in it. Getting it out somewhere up here would have just been, I think, kind of, I don't know, more emotional, and just because the trend was still in play. There was no reason to get out based on the charts until now. So still a nice trade. Nice to get something in the books, but bummer that, to get knocked out here, because part of me is like, oh, it looks like it could just knock out and then reverse, but that's the signal I'm going with, and I'm gonna call it a day on that. Gold is potentially getting that pullback I'd like. I actually think I would get long here on this, as it's come up and it's done a 50% pullback. It's gone past that actually, and if it pulls back and breaks higher, I think that's it's just a really good sweep lower. It's kind of nerve-wracking getting in on this volatility a little bit.
Order filled.
But I like it to the long side. Okay, definitely some whipsaws here on gold. That's kind of spooky, but held through the pullback I want, and that's what I'm looking for. Dang, so I had a break even, or not a break even, a loss on that. I really thought that pullback was gonna look good. 7 contracts, holy shit, I almost accidentally did 7. That would have been not a good time.
Filled.
I like this on a 5-minute. Just using the 1 minute as an entry signal, and a 5 minute looks really good. But again, I'm not gonna touch it. I don't wanna get out just because I'm scared. You know, the big picture is a nice signal. We could pull up a little bit more, make a new high on the ES, and then start to sell off. Okay, out on that trade. So this is the end of week 3, and I am still really in the hole. But going through this process, I've realized, and you know, kind of after week 2, when I was in that emotional spiral, and this week I feel like I've started to right the ship. Maybe not in results yet, but I started to refocus on the important parts of trading. And this week I've done a lot better job of refocusing and saying, you know, taking stuff away and saying, okay, it doesn't matter about the results. I have to focus on the process, taking away trading gold and oil and saying, okay, I know I can be good at focusing on just those morning reversals and just trading those, and being patient and not forcing trades, not FOMOing, not feeling like I have to make this money back because I am in such a hole. And so next week I have to go into the week, focus on the process, because that's what actually makes money trading, and be disciplined in my execution. Because right now having an 8% win rate is really not reflective of, I think, my strategy and my ability. It's me being in this emotional death spiral. You know, it's a part of trading of adjusting and putting all this pressure on myself, but I have to adjust quickly because otherwise I'm gonna lose a lot of money, and I'll come out of it on the other side, hopefully being a better trader and being able to make more money. And so I, don't really know if I'll take much of a trade today. I don't plan on trading very long because I, had my 50K ultra marathon over the weekend. I am completely exhausted. Yeah! Let's go! Trading a long time today is not going to be a smart thing because I won't make good decisions. I'm sitting in my chair right now. I pretty much always stand when I'm trading. Standing on my legs right now just doesn't work very well. So I wanted to show up to the markets today and kind of see what was going on. Take a trade if it sets up really perfectly. But if it's kind of in that middle ground where we are right now, where it's like middle of the range, not a high probability level. There's just no point in forcing things. There's no really strong read, and so I'm just gonna call it. There's no reason to try and force anything. I think that's a good enough signal there for me. And again, with the NASDAQ having the ability to really spike higher here, I'm gonna jump in. Nice confirmation on the ES so far. Still hasn't confirmed that it's broken that, but I'm just gonna let this play out. I like the entry. It's following my timing, my strategy, head and shoulders here. And I was waiting till both kind of aligned. Just nervous, especially with this still, I don't know, kind of selling off here at this downtrend. Ideally, I should really have my stop below here. Knocks me out there. But I mean, I figured that, hey, it's either gonna go up or it's gonna fail here. I think I made some good discipline moves this week in terms of jumping off when I wasn't, sure, and essentially just getting more aligned with how I should be trading my strategy. And that's the whole goal of trading. For me, going through adjusting to this big size. Now, I haven't really got a win yet, which is really frustrating and rough. Which causes me to feel like I'm going to fall back into that emotional spiral. But trying to limit that and stay on the right side of things, and being patient and knowing that it will come and that I don't need to adjust my strategy. The market's been tricky right now in terms of making huge moves, and that triggering FOMO. I mean, it was a tough trading week and I only took one loss. So that's a huge improvement on what was happening before. I'm gonna trade next week and hopefully come into next week and, you know, at the end of the day, like I am 2 wins away from being break even. That's what I have to remember. I don't need that many trades to make a lot of money with this strategy. Okay, coming into today, I've taken a few days off from trading, and so it helps me to get back into the swing of things by visualizing what I want to do, reminding myself how my strategy works and what I'm looking for. You know, what is that repeatable thing that I'm looking for every day versus just kind of showing up and being like, okay, I'm just going to trade. Market hasn't opened yet. Got 7:30 my time is when it opens, and then other couple windows I like, 7:45 and 8. These are my two spots where I want to see it come down in reverse. If it's, you know, either way at those timings, that's kind of lines up with what is repeatable for me versus I find, you know, going into the market and just trying to enter in randomly just does not work very well. So what I would like for a long here, now that it's broken the lows, I would want a head and shoulders to go long here. Because otherwise, it's way more likely that we just, especially for the NASDAQ here, is come up here, test this, and just continue lower. Because we're not really bouncing off of a support level. Now, we could just be doing a failed breakout of the overnight lows here. But big picture, we could just be in a downtrend that's going to continue lower, you know? I like this to the upside. I really want to see, I'm nervous that I'm just going to...
Order filled.
It's just going to pump me in and then rip lower, but I think I'm just going to get in long through that nervousness because it's made a nice head and shoulders there. I'm going to just put my stop down here. Spiking all the way back up here, I'm going to go to break even. I want to just see where we're at here, but a lot of the times recently I feel like it's hit the open and then slowed down, and so getting out at just 2x has been really good to do. I'll see how we hit 2x, I think, and then I think maybe I'll go previous candlestick with the trailing stop. And while we wait for this trade, make sure to check out the NinjaTrader Arena Cup $400,000 real money prize pool tournament. Half the spots are already taken, so make sure to get your spot here in this QR code or the link below. So I still might get out at 3x if we pump up there, just because mentally that's just a big win that I haven't had in a while. If this also reverses here, I'll probably move my stop up here as well. I definitely, if this starts popping up here, I'm going to move trailing stop. Like really tight here now. Like up to 2x. NASDAQ is popping as well. For me, mentally, I feel like getting 5K on the trade is kind of a mental number I really want right now. It's not good, but that's just the reality. But I also don't want to just let that control what I'm doing. I want to run a trailing stop here if this is just going to continue to pop. I don't think that's over greed. I'm just going to put it trailing stop here right at the bottom of this candle. Because I think either it's going to keep going up or it's going to knock me out. And if it knocks me out here at 4,700, I'm totally happy with that. Come on, hold and keep going. That's okay. I'm totally happy with that. But 6 start to the day, 6 start to the week, that is exactly what I want to be doing in the mornings, and that's my repeatable setup right there. You know, get the emotions of managing it and dealing with this. If I wasn't as triggered by the money right now, I would have held through this and let it do a 50% pullback and let it go higher. But all things considered, I waited for that setup. This is exactly what I wanted, and that's what I want to be doing with my trading. That's what's repeatable, and that's how I will be consistently profitable. So we're coming down to the support zone on the NASDAQ. We've had a nice pullback, and we're coming into this 15-minute reversal timing. So normally I'd be looking for, you know, potential long here. The problem is, if we look at the ES, it's just chopping here. it's just opened up and really done nothing. And I have been trying to drill into my head, if they're not aligned, I don't take a trade. Okay, so NASDAQ and ES are just sitting here chopping. We just opened and chopped. It didn't really do what I was looking for. We're coming up on 8 o'clock, you know, the 30-minute window. The 15-minute window right here didn't really make sense. It just kind of sitting here chopping. You know, and again, I want to be going into every day looking for the 15 or 30-minute reversal, and if it doesn't show up, just call it. Just move on. Don't get sucked in of trying to capture a win today. If it doesn't show up, it doesn't show up. There's no point in trying to stay and figure this out because it could just chop here forever. I'm sure it eventually goes some direction, but is that tradable? And is that consistently tradable for me to repeat over and over? And in my experience, for me, no. And so I'm just gonna call it and move on to the next day. The last 5 weeks have been a roller coaster for me. I think now the last like 2 weeks have been way more focused and exactly how I want to trade and how I know how to be profitable trading. And the first 2 weeks, if you look at, you know, kind of just go back in the video and look at how emotional I was, how focused on the results I was, and how I was kind of in just like this emotional death spiral. When you look at my results, was destroying my trading. And I think that's exactly what happens to every trader when they get way too focused on the results, or the money gets too big, and you just get in that tunnel vision. I really had that for the first 2 weeks, and having to reset myself and, you know, find a bottom and essentially rewrite the ship, so I didn't, you know, start to burn tens of thousands of dollars now at my new size. And doing that while trying to, you know, film it all and everything was, it made it very, it added to the intensity. And so, you know, that's something I wasn't used to, and adjusting to that took a couple weeks. And now going forwards, you know, over these last 2 weeks, I can really see, looking back, is my focus has got to the right mindset and the right way I want to be thinking about trading, and the right way any successful trader should think about trading. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's about doing what I personally can consistently and profitably do and repeat every single day. You know, what I was trying to do in the first 2 weeks was jump in and, you know, try and just read the market in real time and capture every move that the day has, even if it's in my morning window. And I can't consistently do that at the end of the day. And it makes it too intense for me. So now shifting back and regaining that focus of, you know, I actually know what I can be consistent with. And it's just waiting for that 15-minute and that 30-minute reversal timing, and waiting for the markets to be aligned together. And if I'm really confident in my read, then I take a trade. But if it's kind of back and forth, just close out. There's no reason to force a trade. I have the luxury of being patient and just saying, hey, I'm just gonna move on with the day. Even if, you know, I stayed another 10 minutes and maybe I caught a trade, it's just not worth it. Just wait for, you know, I could take 4 trades a month, and if I make, you know, 4 or 5K from just those 4 trades being wins, that's 20K a month. Next time I size up, it gets bigger and bigger. So that's what I want to focus on going forwards in my trading, because that is how I'm going to be consistently profitable trading with this new size over time.